Hello and welcome to the Simmering Dye Pot. Today we're going to be dyeing some superwash yarn. We're going to be using purples, gray, and blue. Right now I'm just getting the yarn all put in the pans and straightened up. I've already pre-mixed my dyes. Anytime I'm mixing using the dry dye powder, I always wear a respirator or a mask, a particle mask. You don't want to inhale that. Anything that I use in the dye process can never be used for any kind of food prep. It's always just for dyeing. The yarn was pre-soaked, just in plain tap water. Now I'm adding just a little bit of the water the dye or the yarn was soaked in. I'll add the vinegar later. And I'm just adding some of the pre-mixed colors, and I use any empty plastic container that I have to store the dye in. I just apply the color and then I'll try to work it down into the yarn. And I'm just working the dye down into the yarn. I did lose one of my video clips where I show flipping the yarn and adding more dye in there. So I'm going to go ahead and make the video with just the clips I've got, but the yarn will be turned over. I mean, it'll be steamed on one side, then turned over and more dye added. This particular process is a little new for me because I'm using acid dyes and fiber reactive in the same pot. I'm treating the fiber reactive dyes just like an acid dye, using the same process. Just going to see how it works. This is what the yarn looks like after it had been turned over and more dye added. It's steamed quite a bit, but it still looks like there's some of the dye hasn't set yet, so I'm going to just look at both of them, but I think I'm going to let them steam a little longer. Always before I've added the dye, and then put the pans in the oven and let it heat up slowly in the oven and sit there for a long time. I'm doing this on top of the stove today just to see the difference. I think it'll work just fine. steamed a little bit longer. Take a look at them and see if the color is set. Yeah, it looks like it has set wet. I'll be able to take them out and I wring out most of the water, and I'll put them in a plastic tub and let them sit and cool before I wash them. I did wash all the skeins off camera. I just put them in a plastic dish pan. I rinse them and I add a little dish soap to them and let them soak, and then rinse them again. These rinse, there was a little bit of bleeding, just a little bit, but after the second rinse it was all rinsing clear. And after I washed them and rinsed them, then I take them down and put them in my washer on the rinse cycle and just let the machine fill up with water, put the skeins in there, let them soak, and then I turn it directly to spin and spin all the water out. As you can tell, there's still some leftover dye in the pans, so I'll probably use a couple more skeins and just pull up what I can out of it. I may add a little bit to the one on the right because there's really not enough color there for it to show up on the yarn. And you can tell there's not a lot of color going into this skein of yarn yet, which the water's cooled down a little bit, so I'm going to add a little more dye. I'll add more vinegar, and then I'll turn the heat back on and let them steam until they pull all the color out of the water. Added a little more dye here just to give it some more contrast. There's not much color in there. It will absorb almost all of it. So we'll just put the vinegar back in it and let it cook a little longer. Just checking them to see if they need to cook a little longer or if most of the color has been absorbed. Looks like we still have some color left in there. Just kind of rinse it around a little bit. Steam a little bit longer. And this one needs to steam just a little bit longer also. Now it looks like most of the color has been absorbed into the yarn, so we'll go ahead and squeeze as much of the water as we can out of the skeins and put them over in the other tub and let them cool. There's a hint of color left in there, but the water would be okay to use to dye some more yarn. There's not enough color to affect even using different colors. Here's our finished skeins. They did turn out pretty. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.